Hello everyone, welcome back. This is a new lecture in your course Vagrant Essentials Build Portable Environments by Eduonix. My name is Ahmed, and in this section we are studying our first virtual machine that is built using Vagrant. We are studying its properties, how to communicate with it, and how to achieve the most out of it. In the previous lectures we have seen how we could deploy this Vagrant VM using a box that was downloaded off the internet. It can be downloaded only once and then used as much as you want to deploy Vagrant VMs out of this box, which acts as a template. Then we saw how we can access this machine using SSH, how we can query the status of this machine, whether it is shut down or running, how we can access shared folders between the guest machine and the host machine, where we can work with our source files and have those changes reflected immediately to the guest machine through the shared folder mechanism, how we can disable the default share and replace it with as many other shares as we need. Now let's have a look at the network access modes, or how can you access the virtual machine, the Vagrant virtual machine, using the network. In modern application development, nearly all applications need to connect to the network some way or another. Let's say you are developing a web application. In order to test it on the virtual machine, there should be a way to access it on some port. Vagrant provides a forwarded port for this purpose. A forwarded port means mapping a port on the host machine to the guest VM. For example, if your application is running on port 8080, you can map this port to 80 on the host machine. This way, a simple visit to 127.0.0.1, which is localhost, from your browser will open the application that is listening on port 8080 on your Vagrant machine. And as a matter of fact, it is usually done the other way around. You will map the original ports on the guest machine, like port 80, to a custom port on your host. So let's see how we can do that on our Vagrant file. Look here at this line here, and that's uncommented to see what it looks like. config.vm.network. And this is the forwarded port mode. As you're gonna go through this course, you're gonna know that there are other modes of network access in Vagrant, but for now let's study the forwarded port. This just means that on the guest, if I have a port 80 that is running some web application, I can forward requests coming to my host machine on port 8080 forwarded to port 80 on the guest machine. Okay, so I can just save this Vagrant file, go to my command line, and of course I have to issue again Vagrant reload in order to reflect those changes to my machine. And what I'm gonna do when this machine starts again is that I'm going to install Apache Web Server in order to have some service or some daemon running on port 80, where I can forward the requests that are coming to my host on port 8080 to port 80 on the guest machine. So now the machine has been started. Let's clear the screen and issue again Vagrant SSH. And because this is an Ubuntu based machine, I can issue sudo apt-get update in order to update the repositories. The repositories are the sources from which I download the packages that I need for the system, and they need to be refreshed the first time you install or you deploy the Vagrant machine. Further on, you don't need to issue this refresh command or this update command. It's issued only once at the start of the machine deployment in order to grab the latest information about the repositories from the internet. Once it is done, I will issue sudo apt-get install, followed by the package that I want to install on the system. In our case, it's Apache 2. So now the command is finished. Let's clear the screen and issue sudo apt-get install Apache 2. I hope the spelling is okay. Oh, I forgot an E at the end. And let's press yes for this interactive message. It's telling me that I will need to download about 1 megabyte of archives that will consume about 6.4 megabytes on the hard drive. I'm okay with that. And now it has been installed. It's just configuring some necessary packages. Now let's ensure that the service is running. Clear the screen and issue sudo apache ctl and start. It's already running. I just wanted to make sure. And now, and because I forwarded all the traffic that is coming on my local machine, my host machine on port 8080 to port 80 on the guest machine, let's test that in our browser. So let's open a new tab and type localhost followed by :8080. Okay, and as you can see here, I have accessed Apache to Ubuntu default page. Okay, and this is the default web server. This is the index.html that comes by default when I install Apache for the first time. Let's say, for example, that let's go to sudo vim var www. Now I have this directory created for me, var www.html. This is where I have all my publicly available HTML files and web related files. Let's just type here an h1 tag. Now let's say it works. Actually, this used to be the default page for Apache HTTP server, just a big line that reads it works in h1 tags. Let's save that, and without the need to restart the machine or to restart the web server, I just point the browser to test.html, and as you can see here, I have it works in bold h1 tags that I used here, okay, reflected to my browser here. So as you can see here, it's very easy to test web applications or to work with web applications on your Vagrant machine without the need to leave your host machine even for a single moment. You don't have to leave your browser, leave your editor, leave your tools and access those tools in the GUI of the guest machine. You can just adjust your network ports, adjust the shared folders, and start working from the comfort of your own desktop, from the comfort of your own host machine, as if you're working locally, as if you're developing the web application locally, not on a remote server. Now let's see how we can change different states of the machine, how we can shut down, restart the machine. Now Vagrant supports different types of shutting down or terminating the machine. Once you're finished working with the machine and you want to terminate any running tasks on the virtual machine, like for example if you want to shut down the host and you don't want any web applications or any applications to be running and to be just forced to shut down when you shut down the host, you want to cleanly shut down the virtual machine before turning off the host. So in order to do that, Vagrant supports suspension. Suspension is like pausing the machine temporarily and resuming it later. Just as the name suggests, it's going to suspend everything that has been working in the machine. Any daemons, any services that are running will just be paused for as long as you want to suspend the machine, and they will be resumed once you resume the machine. So if you have, for example, a MySQL service running, an Apache web server running, or any other services that are running in the background, and you issue a Vagrant suspend command, this is the command that suspends the machine, Vagrant suspend, those services will not be shut down, they will just be paused for the duration along which this machine will be suspended. When you issue the resume command, which is Vagrant resume or Vagrant up, it will wake the machine from its suspension, and suspending the machine and resuming it only takes a few seconds. This is the fastest way to quickly shut down the machine. Actually, it's not a complete shutdown, it's just a pause period, and resume it back. So let's have an example. Let's return back to our command line and exit from the machine, and let's issue Vagrant suspend, just like that. And in a few seconds, the machine will get suspended. As you can see here, default saving VM state and suspending execution, just 3 or 4 seconds and the machine has been suspended. Now if you want to resume it, you can just issue Vagrant up as you did when starting the machine for the first time, or you can simply issue Vagrant resume. And again, in a few seconds the machine will be up and running again, and any services that have been running in the background when you suspended the machine will resume back its work. Now the second state of the machine is called a halt. Halting the machine means shutting down the machine completely. You do not suspend the machine, you do not suspend the background services that are running, you completely shut down the machine. And when Vagrant halts a machine, it first attempts a graceful shutdown. A graceful shutdown is the same operation that you do when you press the shutdown button on your Windows machine, or when you shut down your Mac, or when you power off your Linux machine by issuing the command power off. It just attempts to gracefully shut down all the services that are running, to cleanly terminate the services before it completely shuts down the Vagrant in the machine itself. However, if halt times out, if you've worked with Windows before and you press the shutdown button and Windows waited for a few seconds before it gave you the message that some services or some applications are still running and they are preventing the machine from shutting down, you have the option either to force shutdown, you remember that button, force shutdown, or to cancel and close those applications yourself. Vagrant has a similar approach, but it does not give you the chance to cancel the shutdown operation and attempt to terminate those services yourself. It just holds the machine forcefully. It forces termination of any running services or applications that are preventing the machine from shutting down properly, and that is done only after spending a considerable timeout period where it tries and it waits for those services or those applications to peacefully or gracefully shut down. This command or this behavior is achieved through a command called Vagrant Halt. So here in our command line, the machine is up and running, we can just issue Vagrant Halt, and this will shut down the machine. It will not suspend it. It will just, as you can see here, attempting graceful shutdown of VM. If this command times out, if it waited long enough before all the services and all the applications that are running have reported that they have been successfully terminated, it will just forcefully hold the machine, and this is just like powering off the machine by just pulling off the power cord. And again, the machine can be brought back up using Vagrant Up command. This time you cannot use the Vagrant Resume, you are obliged to use the Vagrant Up command. And as you can see here, Vagrant Up can bring up the machine from the suspension state or from the shutdown state, so you can just memorize this command Vagrant Up and use it whenever you want to bring the machine up, either from suspension or from complete shutdown. Now, the most dangerous command here, or the most dangerous state, is called destroying a machine. When you destroy a machine, you lose all the changes or the configurations, any installed packages that were present on the OS. You lose everything except files that have been saved in the shared folder, of course, because those files are shared between the host and the guest, so those files and directories are placed in the shared folder, do not get removed, do not get deleted when the machine is destroyed. However, any packages that have been installed on the machine, any services that have been deployed or started on the machine will get lost when you destroy the machine. Any files that are present anywhere except in the shared folder will also be deleted, so you have to be very careful when you do this command. And when you destroy a machine, Vagrant actually resets the machine back to its very initial state when it was first imported from the box. So remember when we deployed the box the first time and we issued Vagrant Up to deploy a Vagrant VM out of this box? Well, Vagrant Destroy followed by a Vagrant Up command will just bring the machine back to its initial state when you have just deployed it from the Vagrant box. And as a matter of fact, this is the most time-consuming operation of all the machine states that you can bring your Vagrant VM to, but because it involves a lot of operations. So let's have a look here at our command line, and let's issue Vagrant Destroy to bring our machine back to the way it was before I worked on it. Okay, and as you can see here, it's giving you a warning message. Are you sure you want to destroy default VM? And I'm gonna press yes or Y, and this will destroy everything on the machine except anything that was placed in the shared folder. Now, issuing Vagrant Up command will bring the machine back to the way it was when I first imported it from the base box, Bento Ubuntu-16.04. As you can see here, it is a lengthy operation. It is consuming more time than the time it took to start up the machine from suspension state or from the shutdown state. But anyway, all the states of the Vagrant machine will not involve more than a few seconds, either bringing the machine from the suspension state or from the halted state or even from a complete destruction state. Okay, now the machine has been booted again, and as you can see here, it has followed the Vagrant file. It has created, as you can see here, it has created the 8080 mapping to the port 80 on the guest machine, and it has also mounted the /opt by default to be the shared folder with the opt folder on the host machine. And if I try to SSH through this machine again, let's clear the screen, and if I go to /opt, I will see that the test file has not been deleted, although I destroyed the machine and recreated it back. Test file, because it was placed in the shared folder, has not been deleted. However, if I try to go to /var/www, I won't find that directory. That is because Apache has been removed. And if I try to do Apache CTL status, for example, I will see an error message that Apache CTL command not found. This means that Apache has been deinstalled or uninstalled when I issued the command Vagrant Destroy. And that brings us to the end of this lecture and to the end of this section in Vagrant Essentials, Build Portable Environments by Eduonix. My name is Ahmed. I hope you enjoyed this section, and see you next.